Good afternoon. This is the first of two meetings that we're going to have concerning the dredging. So Ray's gonna go over it with y'all, tell y'all about the financing. Rhonda from Atkins Engineering is here. She's gonna tell y'all about the dredging process. So let's get started. Ray, you wanna start off?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm Sweet Dawson, one of the aldermen here on Tiki. And I'm gonna give you a little project overview. This thing, believe it or not, started 4 years ago. Things are not simple anymore the way it used to be. Working with the Corps has been a challenge. So I'm gonna give you a little project overview, kind of tell you what we're gonna do in general, and kind of briefly explain what Atkins has done over the last 4 years. And then we're gonna get, Wanda's gonna come up here with some maps to show you specifically the areas that we're gonna dredge around the island. Then I'm gonna go through the schedule. I'm not gonna do the schedule from way back at the beginning. I'm gonna pick up the schedule from when we finally get going, when we got the bids out, which was the end of June. And I'll give you a schedule of activity from that point till the time that we finish. And then, importantly at the end, I'm going to go and review all the costs associated with it. This is quite a few pieces that go to this dredging project. It's not just hiring somebody to go out there and digging the dirt and putting it somewhere. It's much more complicated than that. Okay, like I said, this thing started in 2018. The objective was to provide, and this was Goldie's email, that we're going to not shortchange anybody. We want everybody to have at least 6 feet in their canal, 6 feet of water down all the canals around Tiki Island, including the perimeter. In addition to that, we're going to put, we're going to dredge 8 feet to the entrances of each of the islands, the perimeter, 8 feet on the sediment basin. And that, by going 8 feet there, we're going to pick up probably 3 or 4 years in helping us with that next dredge. So that's going to be great. And then, of course, that was authorized by we're getting authorization from the Corps to do that. In addition, we're doing something a little different. Some of you may recall, I don't know how long you've been here, but when we dredged over here in front of Hannah and Tiki Circle, it dredged, it didn't last hardly at all. It was just a matter of a short period of time, the bay, water, and dirt just filled right back in. None of those homes over there on Tiki Circle, on the side of Hannah and Kona, can get their boats in and out. We can't do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to install what we call breakwater. It's kind of a little bulkhead that's going to go on. It's going to start all the way down the end, come over to the channel, and then go perpendicular to the channel. The whole thing is around 1,400 feet. And Ron will get into that. It's going to be built in front of homes to prevent the sediment intrusion from the bay getting back in those canals so they can have water in the future. Okay, we had contracted with Atkins North America. Specifically, Rhonda has been the project engineer over this since the beginning, and she's been the one that's been dealing with the Corps engineers. The last 4 years, Atkins has done environmental studies. The Corps has put a tremendous amount of requirements on us. Environmental studies, they've done geotechnical investigations, they've done a complete depth survey. They went in there on every canal, about 1 foot increments. They measured the depth of every canal to all the way around the island and internal, so they've got a lot of data. They also designed the breakwater that we're going to put over here that I talked about. And then we have this area over here that's called, we call the beneficial use dredge material. And that's where we're going to put the dirt, basically. It's going to be an area about a half a mile from the corner of Isles End. If you go down Tiki Drive and turn left and hit Isles End, you go out there about a half a mile. And that's where it is. This is the same place we put it last time. And we have enough area there to do it this time. That'll be the last time we can put it there. After this, the next dredge will have to find another location to be able to put the material. With all their estimates and calculations, Atkins is estimating we're going to be dredging about 126,000 cubic yards. The last time we did this, we were around 60 to 65,000 cubic yards. So we're almost double what we did the last time. The bid preparation document was extremely extensive. It was a big stack of paper that went out to all the bidders. And so that was, and there was a lot of legal words in there too, besides just the technical stuff. And I put this up there because it really signifies the frustration it's been. We've had exhaustive meetings with, and compliance requirements with the Corps of Engineers and other government agencies and non-government agencies. Everybody has to have their 2 cents on this thing. And it's been really excruciating to try and finally get this thing going. I tell you, it's almost to the point where working with some of these agencies is almost like, what can I do to prevent you from doing this? It's very frustrating. The other thing I wanted to mention is the Board of Aldermen made a decision that this project is going to be funded via certificate of obligation. That's the same thing that was used for, that we did the street here on Tiki Drive and also the last dredging project. And it's a cheaper way to go. We're trying to, bond guys, we'll be working with some local banks that perhaps can do the funding for us so we don't have to go to the big boys up in New York. We can save a lot of money. So we're going to go that route. Okay, Rhonda is going to show you. I'm going to let Rhonda take over here now. She's got some maps and she'll show you the address. It's kind of hard to see, but we'll let her do the best you can with these maps.
If you'll help me
You may
hold
have to,
them.
Rhonda.
Sure.
Which one you want to start with?
Turn it right side up.
Might have to.
Sure.
There we go.
Oh, we've got another slide he's got that's gonna show you a little bit better, but just for orientation around the island. The island's gonna be divided into, well, let's go last time. Last time, the project was divided into north and south. And this time, we're dividing the island into the east, middle, and west end of the island. And so, as we did last time, there's gonna be a signboard here at the park that lets you know where the dredges, where they're gonna be working in 2-week increments, 2 weeks out. And then again, on the city's website, you'll be able to go to the website to find out that information. And Randy's gonna be sending those things out in y'all's distribution email, so you'll know. The warning is going to be to get crab traps, fishing lights, and all your accoutrement that's in the water around your boathouse out. We aren't dredging in any boathouses, and we won't be going up next to your bulkhead, but anything that you have on the outside of your boathouse or anything that might be scooped up when they're doing their work, we want you to take it out. It gives you plenty of time to know to do that 2 weeks before they come your direction. So they're gonna start on the east side of the island. They're gonna work their way west. We're gonna do a combination this time of mechanical and pumping. The mechanical operation is gonna be quieter. It's gonna be less cumbersome for the residents. If you'll remember last time, regardless of whether we start north or south, we still need a length of pipe if the hydraulic dredge is in to move the material from one end to this end and then over to the beneficial use area. So in this case, they'll be working in a singular canal at one time, and only one canal will be encumbered at a time. Once the material's removed, the operation will move out of that canal, it'll move to the next canal, and then that canal won't have access. So I will repeat, when they're in your canal, there will be no boat traffic. The canal will be closed. The requirement of our permit is that we have a silk curtain around the end of your canal to minimize turbidity coming out into the bay while they're moving the material. And so a canal will be closed singularly at a time while they're in there working. We are going to have 2 sets of equipment working though at the same time, and so there may be 2 canals at the same time, but not the entire island like there was last time we did it. Half of the island was closed off with pipe at a time, and it's not going to be done that way this time. So material, we'll just start here in this main navigation channel. Material will be removed from here. It'll be placed in transfer barges. Those barges will either be pushed or tugged all the way around the perimeter canal to a staging area in the southwest corner where the main pump station is gonna be. The material will be loaded into a main barge there that's spudded in. There will be one pipeline corridor across. It's shallow water. I don't think people generally take boats across that area. Lots of oyster shell. I mean, you might drift fish over it, but you're not gonna be taking a boat through plain across that area. It's pretty shallow. And so the pipe will run out to that beneficial use area, and then the material will be placed in that beneficial use area. Once a canal or a particular area is finished, they'll pick up, move to the next area, and do the same thing, repeat, till they get all the way across the island. It's gonna go from east to west this time. The beneficial use area was leased from the state of Texas at 26 acres. Originally, we only used about 10 acres of it. The last time we dredged, we're going out to the entire 26-acre footprint this time. And the original area is a second dewatering area. It's gonna stay intact the way it is with the berms. But as the material is dewatered in the new acreage, it'll decant through the original area as a secondary dewater and then out a weir. And once the dredging operation is finished and the material stabilized, if there isn't open water in that original area, we're going to be cutting a little bypass into it so that there's open water flow and you'll still be able to sink a kayak or a paddleboard through there. I'm not sure if anybody goes in there to fish, but it'll still have some open water access to slide through. We call that Cell B. Cell A is going to be the new big area. You'll know when they get started, there will be large equipment out there, and it'll be the same process as we did last time. They'll excavate material from the interior. They'll use it to build the berms. It's the levees or berms that hold the dredge material in. The outside of that has got a rock armoring, so it's stable during our storm seasons. They'll pump material into it, it settles out, and this time we're pumping to the top. It'll be a bird island when it's finished, so it'll have elevation for bird habitat when we're done. So the areas that are, question?
Yeah, this map, I'm gonna give you a copy of this, because you can see it better. The hash areas that you see here is the areas that are getting dredged. So you get your copy of this, you can see specifically where we want each canal.
Sure, and it's got the volumes for each area that are coming out. Tiki West, the west side of the island has 20,600 cubic yards. The central area in total is 53,500, and the east area is 52,400, with a total of about 126,500 cubic yards. And as he said, we're doubling the amount of material that was removed. Everything is contingent on your core permit. The dredger is set to a depth of -5.5, which gives you an overdraft to -6. Your authorized depth is -6. This isn't cosmetic surgery. This is large equipment. So we can't set their authorized depth to dredge to pay at -6 because they go below it, and then we'd be out of the terms of your permit and everybody'd be in trouble, and we couldn't do that. So we set their limit at -5.5, they go to -6, and everybody goes home happy, and we all don't go to jail, which is an important thing. And I kid, we wouldn't go to jail, but
Breakwater.
this is breakwater or sediment control structure. Breakwater seemed to be a term the agencies didn't like these days. But the purpose of this structure is to get the material to drop on this side of the canal rather than this side of the canal and create the land bridge. Since the new causeway's gone in, there's a lot more pilings. And so with both ebb and flow tide, there's not enough energy to bring that material to keep it in cycle, in and out. So it's dropping out in system over here. And with the southeasterly flow, it's just bringing it right into this area. And it's gotten, in the wintertime, you can walk on it. It's a little bridge. And so the structure is intended to have the material drop on the outside. I didn't tell you, the contractor for the dredge work and the BUDM is Apollo Environmental Strategies, Inc. They've been around for over 30 years. They're the contractors that put the breakwaters in on the other side of the causeway. They do quite a bit of work for the Texas General Land Office up and down the coast. They work for municipalities and county governments. They are approved to do work for the state, so they are definitely a qualified contractor to do this work for you all. Shirley and Sons is the contractor that won the work for the breakwater. The only alternate design modification we had to make during the permit process was these fish passes. Didn't know it was a thing. But anyways, Fish and Wildlife Service and Texas Parks and Wildlife Service wanted us to put a break in the structure to allow fish to traverse in and out of the structure, even though we're in that much water. And so we took a look at it in a virtual modeling standpoint. We looked at maybe making the board spacing. Every one of these dots, we'll leave these here for you to take a look at, and you do have sheets to go home. Each one of these dots is a piling, and then it's basically a bulkhead with some tiny holes in it. And it allows the material to drop in instead of going through and into the canal. We looked at making those spaces a little bit wider and not having these gaps, but these gaps were a great big deal to the resource agencies, and we found that we had more material dropping if we widen the board spacing rather than give them the gap, but then put a barrier in front of it. So the fish are gonna have to swim up and take a left or take a right and then go through the middle. But anyhow, we may even put a little sign down there. You do what you have to do to get to the end point. So, and our really big concern, one of our biggest concerns, there's a lot of kids here and small boats and jet skis, and they're having fun, and you give them a little open space to shoot, that's going to become a goal. And so the agencies wanted us to string, some sort of rope across it, kind of like a swimming pool float kind of thing you used to see, or a lane. You see lanes when you're swimming laps, and that's super dangerous. That could decapitate someone. And so safety was a big concern for us, and that's why we opted to go ahead and put the secondary structure out front. This is just another section of what that structure looks like. There will be signs everywhere that indicate it's there and it's dangerous and you'll hit it if you run into it. I don't think anybody can skirt across there. It's too shallow. You have to use the channel and you have to turn to get into those canals. You can't run a boat across there. It's just too shallow to get there. That's what the structure's gonna look like. And again, Shirley and Sons, reputable contractor. They've been doing work on this part of the coast for decades. And so that's who will be doing the work for the breakwater portion of the project. Any questions? Sure.
Okay, well, let's move on.
Hold on, Ray, wait a minute, they got a few questions.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
How soon in advance will we know our canals are gonna be closed?
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks?
And you'll know when the dredge gets there. You'll again, before, pipe was put out in increments. As they moved along, more pipe would stretch and more pipe would stretch, and so the entries to multiple canals would be closed at the same time. Your canal will truly only be closed when the mechanical equipment comes in and the barge is there to accept the material. They will drape what's called the silk curtain across it, and you won't be able to go in and out, and probably 3 to 4 days in your canal before they move to the next one.
Of course, that's when we'll have a big party planned for.
Any other questions before we move on?
One quick, how close is the dredge gonna get to your dock?
We're 20 foot off. We have a 20-foot limit from bulkhead to bulkhead, and that will keep us at least 5 feet off of anybody's dock.
Okay, any more questions?
And
What if
no
you
dredging
want
and
under your
boathouse.
boat dock dredge?
Do it yourself.
You have to do it yourself and take it somewhere. We don't have capacity
Yeah, yeah, I'm with you.
and a permit to do it.
Okay, any more quick questions? We'll move on. Okay, let's look at the schedule. Like I said, we started the schedule, this has been going on for several years, but I'm going to start from, when we finally got things rolling here. We put, the dredge project bid out. We were assuming that someone was going to bid the whole thing. Preparing the beneficial use area of all the lines and the breakwater and do the dredging. We received the bids on July 28th, but there were no bids for the breakwater. We actually did have a contractor that was a subcontractor for one of the bidders who did the whole thing, but he couldn't get a bond. So he was not able to do it. So we ended up getting bids just on the dredging and preparing the beneficial use area out there, which is quite a job. Putting all the, essentially the seawater around that area. Then on August the 4th and 5th, we had back-to-back, we had meetings on the 4th, and Alderman approved going forward with the certificate of obligation. We approved the bid for the dredging, not the breakwater, just the dredging. We did put a notice in the Galveston Daily News, and these notices, I'm sure, somebody saw them because they're all small print. But anyway, we put a notice in the Galveston Daily News for the certificate of obligation, and that was also on the Tiki website. We put a second notice that's required when you do a certificate of obligation. You have to put the notice out twice. So we went in the Galveston paper again on August the 12th. And then on August the 4th and August the 11th, twice we put out requests for bids for the breakwater. And then on the 25th was the deadline to get the bids back for the breakwater, which we received. We had 2 bids. Let me go back to the, I'll talk about the cost that we got. But anyway, we did receive the bids for the breakwater on the 25th. The aldermen had a meeting on the 1st of September where they approved the bid for the breakwater. And we have a briefing today, which we're doing tonight. I'll be doing another one on Saturday at 11 o'clock in the morning for the folks that are weekenders and not able to come here. And then on the 20th is the day that we're going to award the certificate of obligation. We'll know there'll be several banks that will be submitting bids for this thing, and we'll of course pick the best bid that we get for the CO. And also at that time, we'll set the total tax rate. Even though we know what the tax rate is being proposed, and we'll talk to it, that'll be the official day when the tax rate has to get approved by the board. On the 6th of October, we should be getting the funds from the certificate of obligation distributed to Tiki. The plan is on October the 10th to begin the dredging project, and what we have to do, we're not going to start dredging. We have to build this breakwater first, and we also have to prepare the area out there where the dirt's going to be placed. And that's probably about a month or so that's going to have to happen for them to build this thing and get that area out there ready to go for the dirt. So we're targeting about November the 7th to begin contractual dredging. And I'll put May, and this is, hopefully it's not going to be that long, but we put May of 23. We think the thing will be finished. We're hoping it will be a lot sooner than that. All right, let's get into the cost. Okay, like I said, we've been working with Atkins for 4 years, and they have done a lot of work. They've done a lot of modeling, engineering work, working with the Corps constantly. We've had fun with the Corps. They've changed project managers a couple of times, 3 times, I think. So we have to start all over again almost with those guys. It's tough. They did all the final engineering, they did all the bid preparation, all the documentation we needed to, and that's how much money we spent, $425, $558. Apollo Environmental came in to do the dredging. They'll do the mobilization, demobilization, they'll do some surveying, environmental protection. They're going to dredge all 126,000 cubic yards of material. They'll do the construction out here at the BUDM, beneficial use dredge material area. They'll place the material out there and do now restoration. Now, the bid of $4,745,640 came with a 24/7 caveat. If we wanted them to only work in the daytime, that was going to pull up $250,000 more. So the board decided that we're gonna go 24/7 and save the 250,000. We just think it's gonna be a little inconvenient for some people, as the thing moves around, but it won't be everybody at the same time. So we save that much. And I will say here, it's interesting, the other bid we got for this thing was $8.5 million. So we felt like we got a pretty good bid. Atkins did a analysis of what they thought the bid was gonna be, and they had come in, I believe, a little over $5 million. They were assuming. So we did good. The breakwater, Shirley and Son, they're gonna get out there and build the little seawall we have out there. Their bid came in at $1.388663. We had another bid for this one. It came in at $2.7 billion. So again, Atkins was assuming that this bid was gonna come in approximately $1.5 million. So we did a little better in that department too. Okay, now Atkins is gonna do all the construction management, the contract oversight. Goldie's not gonna be standing around out there watching these guys all the time. And so they're gonna have their team out there monitoring this at all times, putting in the report, notifying the citizens. They're doing the website management where we get inform everybody what's going on. And that's $298,500. And then, of course, we had to get our certificate of obligation, the attorney fees, you gotta get the attorney general, you gotta get TECQ, there's a bunch of paperwork, a bunch of legal stuff you gotta do. And you have to have a bond person, like a mortgage guy, that goes out and finds the money for you, and they charge a fee, like everybody else. And that total fee came into $102,000. And when you add all this stuff up, it comes into $6,960,361. We decided to go with the 10% contingency, even though originally Atkins said, you probably ought to go 20%, but we never know. But the board felt 10% is fair. We're gonna go with 10%. So we added the 10% with a final cost of $7,656. At the time, we didn't know exactly what we were gonna end up with, so we're gonna go get a certificate of $8 million. We're shooting, it's gonna be a 10-year bond. This number, we're hearing that we could probably do better than that. But we won't know for sure. Any money that's left over that we don't use, we're going to apply that to the tax. So the money, the citizens will get the money back. In other words, if we have $300,000 or $400,000 or $500,000 left over, when it's time to set the tax rate next year, we'll apply it. So we don't lose it. The citizens don't have to pay for it. Now, the last time we did it, the excess money was spread over 3 or 4 years. But it's up to the board however they want to give the money back. So anyway, what that boils down to, when it's all said and done, this certificate of obligation is going to cost us about 19.324 cents per $100 of evaluation. And that's about what it's going to run. And that's the number that we're going with for the tax rate. The M&O rate stayed pretty much the same as it was last year. That's it. Any questions?
Ray, when was the last dredging project?
We did it in 2011, correct, 2011. And we had 10-year bond, those bonds have been paid off.
How much was the last one?
How much was it? The last dredging, the best we can find out was about $2,010,000. So we're dredging twice as much and we've got about 11 years of inflation. So it's gone up. And we're adding the breakwater, so that's another 1.4.
I'm kind of area ignorant here, but where the breakwater is and where this new construction that's supposed to start, which I have no idea when it's gonna start, on the condominium project and the marina and all that, is there any concern about it doing any damage to what we're doing with this money to the canals when that construction starts down here?
No, they should be totally independent.
Okay.
Yeah, they're all, working. And we told the condo people, you gotta fix that bulkhead on the channel
Yeah.
before you do anything.
Okay.
We told them, don't even think about putting a shovel in the ground until that bulkhead has been replaced.
Good, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, in the channel.
So, okay.
Is anything that we're doing gonna benefit them that they should be held liable for or partake in some of that process?
They Well, they'll get their.
They got shaking their head no back here. Any
We won't
further
be
action?
using canals for the people unless the people in
No, I'm at the bulkhead.
the bulkhead that they're doing.
Yeah,
No, it's on the other side of the channel.
the little ours.
Yeah, the new one we're building is on the other side of the channel.
Headquarters
Yeah.
on the other side.
For the people on the other side of the bridge, it keeps silted in. It has nothing to do with
Ah,
the bridge.
okay, I didn't see the picture correctly.
No, the channel goes through, it's
Gotcha.
on the other side, it's on the causeway side.
Okay, that's where I was.
Yeah, it's an L-shaped breakwater that parallels Tiki Circle there, and then goes out at a 45-degree angle along our exit channel here. So the silt will be pushed out that way.
Okay, now I get it. I was.
One other question. What were the variables used to determine the amount of material going to be taken from the west, the center, and the east part of the island? And when you say west, does that include north and south of Tiki on both of those?
There isn't a variable. The permit allows for a -6 depth. That's your authorized depth.
What does that really mean? Like,
It's an elevation. It's a -6 feet below zero. That's what your permit, when the
Zero is determined by,
Does it mean low water or average tide?
average, it's
Yeah, yeah.
zero.
Yeah.
And now the
Gotcha.
Corps actually dredges at mean low water, which, you know, is ridiculous. It's about this much.
oh, I got the answer,
Yeah.
thanks.
And so, and that was established when the village was established. That was the authorizing depth. And then out of the front, the sediment basins, we're digging, for lack of better words, sumps out the front of every single canal as you come into the village, and they are at -8 feet. And it buys you, like Ray and Goldie have both said, 3-4 years of sediment falling in that first, because you know all your sediment's coming from the outside in. So it'll land in that basin first and gives you the longevity in your canal as time goes by. So you get longer, you get more bang for your buck.
And that was not done in 2011, right, Rhonda?
It was done,
It was to 8 feet?
yeah,
Okay.
it was done.
Some
It
areas
was
are a lot
done.
cheaper than
And
that.
the variable that
Current,
controls
yeah.
the whole project is how much material we can put in that hole out in the bay that we're lining with rock. And so it's a balancing act of dredge, pump, de-water, let it settle a bit, and it's a orchestration of material going in there continually with the flow out. And with compaction and settlement and wind and sunshine drying it out, the maximum we think we can hold out there is about 130,000 cubic yards. Max.
Thanks.
Is this area out here that's gonna be, I guess, their port when they build the condos and all that, is that dredge material have anything to do with our project?
That's their project, their dredge, and they will have to take it somewhere. It's not going into your placement area.
They'll have to get their own permit, and they'll have to get the location where they're gonna put it, which is not an easy thing to do. So they've got a real challenge on their hands. They lost the lease, they had a lease, on that channel out there in that area, and they have to go back and get it. So that's one of the reasons that they've started on the condos instead of starting on the marina. They got a bunch, and the bulkhead over there, on not only channel side, but the bulkhead on the other side is deteriorated, and they lost in the cord, and the GLO, won't let them put it back where it was originally. They let too much of it deteriorate, and said now your bulkhead has to be put back, so they lost some land there. So, but they're saying it's gonna take them a year to get all that straightened out. So that was one of the reasons that they wanted to go with the condos first.
You talking about where you cut around the
Yeah, you know where it's,
The wood-
you used
the
to
wood.
have the boats out there in the water and you go around the other side of it, yeah. They didn't, no one maintained that bulkhead, and now they lost land. GLO won't give it back to them, the original place it was. Any other questions? Yes?
Y'all gonna dredge in front of that bulkhead that you were just talking about?
The
No.
channel, yeah, it'll be outside of there, where our channel is now, same place where we have it now. We're not making a new one.
Your perimeter channel is the
Yeah,
same.
the same one.
We're staying in your perimeter channel that's been marked, and we're staying within that perimeter channel, period.
I've got a copy of this presentation over here, y'all can take with you, and it's got some maps in here from the city.
Is the rough timeline in there as well?
Pardon?
Is the rough timeline of the sequence, so we can kind of guess when
We're gonna start over here.
a month or two?
I don't think they've gotten quite the detail yet, do you know?
So start with the mayor's house, yeah.
They're starting over here, but working their way around here.
South to the far end, come back on the north side from west east.
Come down here, go around.
Okay.
Have y'all gonna do any dredging on the perimeter, like, where if you face the open bay?
Yeah.
There's dredging there too.
Absolutely.
So speaking of dredging, channel it. Okay.
Yeah.
Today's material of the breakwater is gonna be built.
We treated lumber with 2x6s with 3/4 inch bolts. The gap was 1 inch gaps. So it's everything was 1 foot off of the mud line. And it's 5 feet high.
We did 3 different cost comparisons with different material, and y'all couldn't afford the composite. We looked at composite pilings, they're starting to be used. And the cost was, it wasn't affordable to use composite.
Those pilings are 35 feet long, 15 inch pilings. Pretty sturdy. And then if they poke it itself, they start to go off the grass.
I think there was also some modeling that the sediment was gonna build up on the base side of the breakwater, which would give it some natural protection as well, pretty quickly.
We looked at rock, it's mushy. To do a rock structure out there, would have had a very large footprint. And with the wave, part of the modeling that we did, we looked at the wind and wave pattern for that area. And you would have to have a really beefy structure, what we could do with wood in sort of in a 1 dimension compared to what we would have to do with rock in a 3 dimension. But it was just cost prohibitive. Besides the fact it's really soft, so we would have to build quite a hefty structure at the base to keep it from sinking.
Sure would make for good fishing.
You got it out there around the BUDM area. There's plenty of rock going in out there. A lot of rock.
Okay, thanks everyone for coming. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Greg.
What we're gonna do is after the second reading, I'm gonna get right through this, put it down.